What are you doing? All right, guys, here we're going to talk about the movie Scanners. "1981 Scanners." Lee, had you seen it before?
No.
This one is kind of a classic, so I was like, this will be a 50-50 if Lee's seen this one before.
Exactly. I've seen an animated GIF from it.
Oh, of course.
Where someone's head explodes.
Yeah.
But everyone has seen that. That isn't a spoiler. And so I'm just happy to have seen where that fits in now.
Indeed. I saw this one far too young, and not that it traumatized me, that it's kind of an adult movie. It's slower, and I remember not liking it that much because I was probably like 9 or something, and this is not a 9-year-old's movie. But yes, upon a rewatch as an adult, it's still kind of slow.
Yes.
and like I think it could be tightened up. A good amount here.
I would say that this has awesome ideas, awesome premises, cool, time period effects and all that stuff. But yeah, like it's more to appreciate than to like enjoy per se.
It is fun conceptually. There are more movies. Right? There was a TV show because the concept is really good. This movie suffers from that it was filmed while it was being written. And that's a problem. But I do think again, to see where things are going, to see where things are coming from. You got our boy Michael Ironside in this, and he's always awesome. He almost looks unrecognizable to me because he's like young. I don't think I've ever watched it like thing young.
Several scenes into it, I was like, that guy looks almost like Michael Ironside. And then I was like, I should check and see. And it's amazing, yeah. There's ideas here. So like, this movie, I didn't love it. I appreciate it, but it actually made several other things that we'll get into in spoilers worse for me. Because I'm like, oh, they just ripped off Scanners. That's cool as a historian, as someone who's interested in the history, to fill in your gaps and get that information. But it does kind of make you go like, oh, there's nothing original. Everything's just derivative.
I think this even ripped off Naked Lunch.
Yes,
which he also directed later than this. So.
Yeah, this is Cronenberg, writing and directing. That's cool, right? We mentioned Michael Ironside. There's a few other character actors, but nobody huge.
Yeah. But no, it's fun. It's a good old-timey watch. I would recommend you should watch this for historical purposes.
If you haven't seen Scanners, you should see Scanners, right?
Yeah.
We can put it there.
And either way, we're about to head over to spoilers, so if you've seen it or don't care, follow us over there. And if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, guys, so here we are for the spoilers of Scanners. So Scanners opens with this scrub, just trolling the mall.
The mall scene,
stealing cigarettes and French fries, eating half a hot dog.
When he does he sit down at someone else's
where their discarded table that has to get bust? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's awesome.
I kind of respect that shit. Where I'm like, we just don't give a shit. I like that. I'm like, this is how you live if you don't care.
I know.
Like a boss.
Like a vagabond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's this chase scene that's kind of cool. And that dart really impressed me because I'm like, that held on really nicely. That's something that you could have easily just been shot him and he pulled out and threw it down. You didn't have to make a rig that would hold this dart in his hand.
I thought it was weird that he didn't pull it out. But then
weird.
I remembered how old this movie was, and I was like, because later they show him trying to pull it out of the chick, and it hurts to pull it out. So I'm like,
hold still.
Oh God.
Hold still.
Oh God. Ah.
Oh. I once got a toothpick stuck in the little bit of skin between your thumb and your thing. Don't ask me how this happened. There's a toothpick in there. And I started to pull it out, and just all the skin moved, and it didn't pull out, and it hurt. And that was just a little toothpick. Imagine an actual dart.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it's reverse barbed to stay in the animal or whatever it's usually meant to fight. I do wonder, though, I understand things hurting, but you'd also be in quite an adrenaline mode where you're running away. And I don't know enough about tranquilizer darts, but I would assume the longer it's in, the more juice I'm potentially getting. So I'd probably rip that bitch out immediately.
I agree. That's what I mean. At first I thought that it was weird. Why doesn't he pull it out? It's a little weird. It is weird.
But I don't dislike it. I read that the original opening scene was supposed to be that bit in the conference where the guy's head explodes. Yes. But he was like, I want to make sure anyone who shows up late to the theater
gets to see the
can read
money
this.
shot.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. This David Cross looking motherfucker, his head exploding. I've been looking at that animated GIF for like 100 years. I'm so happy, but that made me think that Scanners was just going to be heads exploding left and right for the entire movie, and that's the only head really that that explodes.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
the
there's some other shit that happens.
Are pretty great. Like that effect looks awesome.
It's a good head exploding.
And did you see how they do that?
They like packed it with shit, like dog food.
Yeah,
and whatever, right?
it's like dog food, leftover lunch, bullshit,
like lasagna.
and they straight up shotgun this thing. Yeah. Like there's a guy right next to him, and they do this. And I wonder if that's two separate cut scenes because he gets up with nothing on him.
No, yeah, the actual explosion is like a tight cut shot.
Sure.
Cutaway. So yeah, but yeah, they said like they like shot it with a shotgun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess that's how you make it look like it was shot with a shotgun. Is you shoot it with a shotgun?
I think it's very funny that the idea of thinking a like movie that was theatrically released that was like his biggest movie to that date.
Okay.
Up until like The Fly came out. I imagine.
I was gonna say this is before all those. Yeah.
Is like. And that's how you do it. While we're talking about the effects,
we get one shot at this.
The next best series of effects is like the conclusion of the film.
Yeah, if we go to the finale.
And that's interesting too. Have you ever seen Fist of the North Star?
Yes.
That reminds me so much of that I looked up. I'm like, did the same people work on these? And they didn't.
Okay.
But like, it's like similar effects, like blood just shooting out of veins and pulsating like shit.
It's gnarly. There's we'll just be showing the whole thing, I guess. But like veins like coming up and then spurting blood. At one point, the good guy starts clawing his face off.
Yeah, I was like, what's your end game here, bro?
Really, it's crazy. Yes, it's good.
And I still don't understand exactly how that ending worked out.
No.
So like, our boy, Ironside says like, I'm gonna suck you up, so it's just like you'll be inside of me or whatever. And I'm like, okay.
All right, we're gonna do it the scanner way. I'm gonna suck your brain dry. Everything you are is gonna become me.
But then somehow that enabled him to take over his body, and it's him at the end.
I didn't like the ending.
No, well, I loved the ending up until that part where I was like, wow, how daring. I would have stood up in the theater. Bold choice. I can't believe you just massacred the main character. Awesome. And then like, he's not dead.
But like, yeah, to have the other guy's voice coming out of Michael Ironside.
Yeah. It's me, Cameron. I'm here. We've won.
And he has contacts in or something to make his eyes look like the main guy's eyes. The main guy was very striking with his eyes. So like that was a cool, I don't know if those were his original eyes or he was also wearing contacts, whatever. The point is, I kind of hated that whole ending. The effects are cool, but there's one good part that goes along with what you're saying. There's a moment during the psychic battle where the good guy realizes like how to win. It like cuts to a close up, of his eyes, and he's at peace. And he produces flames out of his hands, and I didn't understand the whole flow at first, but that's him realizing, oh, we are linked now in this like one nervous system.
Yeah.
And we are the two most powerful. It's like Magneto and Xavier going out. We are like going to like destroy the world. We're like so powerful, or or like whatever. And he's trying to like take his power, but then he realizes, oh, I just have to like destroy this body because we are now one,
Yeah, and that's what he does.
Thing. And I can and if I can overpower him, I can just live in that body, right? So he like bursts into flames. He like sets himself on fire to like do that, and that's what kicks off this amazing. His eyes just get like blown out of his head, and then Michael Ironside's eyes go white, poltergeist style. And that's the cover.
The biggest spoiler is the cover of the movie is that ending scene.
Like, if this was not so old, I would have been like, that's CG, because like no one's mouth can open that wide or something. It looks fake. I'm like, this is so crazy. Michael Ironside is just going nuts with these contacts
he definitely
and his fucking hair just screaming.
He really commits. Yeah. Even the faces during the psychic battle part before it's like anything happening. Like with
it's even more complemented by like the sounds they play. Yeah. Again, like the sounds come off cliche, but this is like 81. This is where the sounds came from. This is where the cliches came from. It's so good, and like it's got this weird music playing, but then all like the psychic noises that they play, all this weird stuff. There's a part where it's happening to like the bad guy, and you can hear him breathing and like some of his heartbeat. And I think that's to like simulate that he's like blown out. He's like hearing as if his eardrums or like his ears are like messed up.
Full of blood.
Yeah, blood and like weird, like he's having some sort of crazy reaction in his body. I'm not sure exactly what that was meant to do.
Well, even just the raising your heartbeat, that's like the sound of like I'm having a heart attack, like type of things.
It's really good.
It is pretty effective how they do a lot of these scenes. One thing I don't like is that they display many types of psychic power that don't really make sense. Like when it was just like the power of persuasion and making people do things, I'm really on board with that. I think there's a lot of cool potential, like making you see something, like the guard who sees his mother and he starts to cry and shit.
Sorry, Bob.
That's effective. I like that.
And their voices sound muffled and like weird too. It like plays with the perspective of like who could hear what, and are you hearing yourself, and weird like I'm trapped in my. It's really interesting. Yes.
The fire stuff though, I'm like, what is that happening? Because like even like the head explosion thing, I'm like, okay, maybe pressure is building up or something. Like I can hand wave that to be like, yeah, oh, okay. Like he turned his heart up to 1,000,000 and his head exploded.
And like they're both scanners at the very least. So you can be like, okay, they were playing on this like elevated superhero playing field where they're like all the forces and stuff was so amped up.
Yeah,
but they just like even the good guys, like the chick freaks out and like pins the goons to like the wall, and then awkwardly, pathetically looking, fire comes up behind them. Like I feel like even like a TV show released today would have them strike the wall and like fire happening like so much better and like cheaper to do. Like
and there's
CG.
Weird like almost force push stuff, but like usually it's like, oh, I do this to you and you like jump away and flip yourself over there. But occasionally it is like that guy got shot backwards. So you're like, is it psychic powers? Or the biggest when you meld with machine. Like, the computer has a nervous system too, and you have a nervous system, and together you can, like, what?
You do have a nervous system, and so does a computer.
So that's when I like checked out of like caring about the stuff until the finale, really. Because when that doctor is like, well, the computer has a nervous system too, I'm like, oh no. And I'm like, well, that's just the doctor's crazy way of it. No, the bad guy later says, oh, he's in the computer because the computer has a nervous system too.
Heard him. I don't understand.
Dale's nervous system and the computer's nervous system are joined together. He's scanning it.
But I'm like, God damn, why are we doing?
I like was mentally going like, oh, well, that doctor just snapped. He's gone mad.
Yes.
And like it almost tracks 1-to-1 for the next couple of things where it's like, okay, and now he's dead, and this is okay, he's gone mad. Okay, cool. But then it's like, oh wait, and then the whole thing of like, oh yeah, these things can just explode because he's using like there's not bombs built into these computers. What is exploding?
Yeah.
See? I told you. No fireworks.
I mean, stuff's not making sense.
The phone melts.
I was just say, like, the phone melts. It's like pouring out of the phone, and like the power lines.
Like,
to
and I love
like,
goofy shit, and you don't really have to explain anything. Like, you can just say, oh, they're the X-Men or whatever. Like, I don't care.
Exactly.
But it's just that they go through these things to like kind of really explain that first part of like the psychic powers. He's there with like he's in like the attic of some place because like the CIA can't afford like a real building or whatever.
When he has to psychically spar with the yoga master. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is also like that shit where it's like, oh, okay, you've just learned you can do this pretty much. You didn't know what scanning was until they found you. Like, you did it to that person, but it seemed like it was almost subconsciously. Like, she was making fun of you, and you snapped, and it started hurting an old lady.
Oh, help someone, please.
But then like a moment later, you're like, I could kill a fucking professional yogi. Fwing.
Well, and also after that scene, he says, "You're right, Doctor. It was easy." Like he's such a robot in like his delivery. It's so strange. At that moment, I was like, "Oh, he's the bad guy." It's gonna turn out that Michael Ironside's the good guy, and I still don't know at the end if that was even a thing. There's a lot of stuff that's like not like developed in like a traditional way.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't hack a like small machine with his brain.
And work his way up.
And then later say, wait, no, because he has the thing. And the same thing with that. We just want to, like, we are playing with these premises, but not in like an orderly fashion.
There should have been something where they're on the run, he ATM jacks something, they buy a car, that cool black car he had. Actually, a couple of cool things. That van was cool. They had like the Punisher's van.
Oh, with
and
the
like
slats?
a pirate portholes opened up and all these guns came out.
Yes.
I was like, this is dope. Like, there's a lot of things here that you could have kind of explained as one thing. Once it got to this grand scale of there's a huge company shipping out this medicine that makes you into a scanner baby. And why do babies just scam people?
I'm glad they called it out where Ironside says to Vale, like, once I heard he was sending you out as some amateur spy baby or whatever, I'm like, okay, good. Because like that was like the middle of this movie is this dude who's been living as like a homeless guy for years, has no social skills. You find out later he was like a test tube baby that was on ice, has no childhood, has no human empathy, talks like a robot, does not understand his abilities. That guy is like, you have to go undercover as an art gallery guy.
I love the art gallery.
The art's great, yes.
The art's crazy. Yeah. I think I wrote they let him out because of art therapy or something. And they showed the art and I'm like, put him back in. Yeah. This guy's fucking insane.
There's one quick shot of like really far apart eyes. Looks like that, I always forget the numbers, but Star Trek Voyager, species 8426, whatever it is, those weird bug aliens, it looks like that. But it looks like a real version of that. The way they would do like a real Homer Simpson cartoon. Yeah. That's like terrifying.
I love the giant head.
Yeah.
There's a giant head just in this art gallery's thing that is a living room.
Yes.
I was like, this thing is dope. I'm like, if I win the lottery, I'm getting that.
Literally that head.
In fact, and Ironside's office. His office was really awesome.
Yeah.
It was this big like 70s style, like, this is where I entertain and have my orgies. And then there's like a door right behind his office. I'm like, that's where his real office is. Yeah. This is just where like he talks to people, and in there he's got his gigantic computer.
Yeah, I was gonna say out here, just for cocaine and stuff. Yeah. It's not. I'm glad you mentioned 70s real quick, because even though this is 81s, like the thing about the early 80s is a lot of the movies made during this time scream the 70s to me, and everyone's hair, clothing, everything, the facial hair choices, the haircuts, everything is so 70s to me in this really weird, nostalgic, awesome way.
I like it. Well, because it's barely the 80s.
Right, exactly.
You know? I think this has so much potential, and I've not seen the other Scanners things.
Okay.
So like those I'm aversion to at the moment. But there's been quite a bit of Scanners things, and I think the potential here is so large because that concept is really good. I think you could develop that if they would have given the man time to write before starting the film. I think he could end up with something crazy.
Did Cronenberg? You may not know, but I'm interested how involved he was with the other ones, because I don't know.
I don't know.
Perhaps not
I
at all.
almost imagine not.
Right? Yeah.
Like the characters designed by like originated by.
But like without directly spoiling too many things, right? Like that thing with the drugs that affect human people being given to pregnant women to create more superheroes.
Sure.
That's season 1 of The Boys.
Yeah.
And everyone, all of the assassins have shotguns. Like that reminds me of Looper. Like every big and little thing, there's like 10 more. It's all stuff that people saw this as a kid and they were like, I get to make a movie now.
Sure.
You know what would be cool? I don't know why this seems cool to me, but let's do this. And they just do shit that's from these like original things.
That reminds me of like the Punisher's van. Yeah. There's a lot of things in this that could totally be something else. I would love to redo this and have the drug affects people differently. And you have some people are the firemancers, some people are the techno fucking Vikings.
Firestarter is another one, right?
Yeah.
This idea of like the government and these weird programs, but the whole plot is so convoluted with like these dueling companies and all that stuff. But again, what we're circling is like the premise is so good that yes, I too would love to go watch the rest of the series. It's just that show you said, right? Check stuff out.
This even reminds me a bit of Mutant X. An early Marvel TV show with similar things, like but different powers.
the whole thing that seemed cool, and like yes, there were books before this, and I'm sure there were movies literally before this, but like there's like a team of movies that set all this in motion. Because once you get too far, behind the like 60s, movies weren't movies yet or something, right? So like this is this. So like no one reads books, but a lot of people saw scanners who went on.
This is legendary.
Do stuff, but like all the stuff, like we have different dueling agencies and corporations and drugs that change the things, and you were mutated, and you were this, and you have powers.
I didn't like how the leader of the good guys founded that company, and then was like, what do they do now? Oh, I don't know what they do now.
Do you know of a drug laboratory called Biocarbon Amalgamate?
Yes, of course. I founded it in 1942.
Like, it's so convoluted.
And somehow the bad guy is the head of that company without, like, the government doesn't know these things? Like,
no, it's so weird. And even in that, so like in the conference room in the beginning, this is where this all starts. And it's a great scene because the doctor's posture is different. He's all slumped over, and like everyone's talking, and then he just owns them.
Were these VIPs carefully screened?
The screening process used was very sophisticated, yes.
And yet an assassin managed to infiltrate this group.
He's like, well, they made a fool out of us, right? Well, it seems like that's something we should look into. Haha, I've turned the tables and all that. Like, it's an awesome scene.
Not wrong.
But it kicks off the whole thing of like, what are all these layers? How do you not know these things?
Well, like, why weren't there more scanners is my thing. It's like he was going around either recruiting or killing people that didn't join him. Yet that small pocket resistance had like 7.
The power we can generate when we focus our scans together is fantastic. Terrifying. Exhilarating.
And did he have any? I don't remember him having any other scanner people.
Yeah, like, so I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that it sets up a lot of stuff, some of which is cool, and most of which is not like delivered on or paid off or anything.
Well, so, you send these like just shotgun-toting people to be your assassins.
Were they scanners?
And like, it doesn't appear they were.
Think so.
They never seen them use any powers.
Yeah.
And they do not even react knowing that they're fighting against scanners because he walks in that room, clearly has a jump on them after they destroy that record store. He goes down there and he's like, and pauses for just long enough for the guy to like see him and take hold. Had he just been like, pop, pop, movie over.
How evil he is, how powerful he is, you don't know anything.
He won, and it would be done. You get a promotion.
Weird Cosmo Kramer looking assassin guy.
I love practical things like destroying that record store, though. You're like, oh, right. Because like movies don't do shit like that. And it used to be a thing like, oh, the Blues Brothers just smashed 1,000 cars. And now they're like, CG and bullshit and whatever. Like, that was cool. I did read a little anecdote that said that like that big sign, there was like a big advertisement for a company that paid to have their advertisement there.
RSO.
Yes.
It's like an inflatable thing, right? Yeah.
And they went out of business before before the movie ever came out. That's
a nice little like trivia tidbit of like,
I like that.
Because now when you watch that scene, you're like, what's that big thing doing there? But it's like on fire and like falling, and then you're like the company.
Like the company.
Cool. which I've never heard of because it's 50 years ago now. Ooh, that's a long time ago.
Well.
40 years?
40.
We're dead.
We're dead.
But the RIPE program is the past. Therefore, to access the RIPE program is to access the past. No?
Okay, so I was going to talk about a couple of things that I think are dumb or at least give me questions. Some pause here. In the middle of the interrogation room is a button that turns off all the cameras in the facility. And I'm like, why would that be in there? That seems like a big mistake. There's like a scientist in the computer room, and he has what looks like a fake mole.
We're plugged into the telephone system. Anybody who has the proper series of access codes could get in here long distance.
It looks wet. It makes
like, is
no
that
sense.
real? Is that fake? I kept expecting like he's gonna force push him and pop up like things are gonna explode or blood's gonna come out of it or something.
I have no idea what that character said because the entire time I was just staring at his mole.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Moly.
Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Very, very strange.
I couldn't do that without the written authorization of Contact Leader.
Mister, this is your authorization. Sit down!
Actually, I was like, I should get checked for skin cancer again. Oh my god.
I don't know how I feel about the part where he goes to inject the guy and he mind fucks him and he injects his own hand with the stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, is that better or worse? Because other people were in the room. I'm like, would it be better just to like have him be like squeezing it as he went for his arm and not put it into
squirting it everywhere?
Yeah, like I don't know.
I don't know. People inject stuff into things.
We know it's inert, that it wouldn't hurt.
I was gonna say, like they do call out that it has no effect on humans unless they're pregnant. But no, I liked it a lot. That whole scene's really cool with Michael Ironside because like he blows up my dude's head and then tries to leave like I don't know what just happened, like leave me alone.
I want you to come with me.
I didn't do anything.
I said I want you to come with me.
And they're like, no, it's like you're coming with us. That's actually like that's probably the best like introduction and like the varying of the different stuff. It's a well done. The focus rack when the dude's shooting himself. Like there's some good tidbits there. No, I liked that he injected it there or like something. I feel like he could have done something with that.
It would have been cooler if it wasn't that stuff that like, because at that point I don't think we know about the stuff that like makes you lose your powers temporarily.
That's what that stuff is.
No, I don't think we knew about what that was at that moment.
Yes.
So you're expecting the doctor to pass out because it's some sort of a sedative, but it's not. And I know that wouldn't have made sense for it to be sedative, but it would have been a little better of a shot. That guy just falls, then he turns and like takes out another guy or something.
Yeah, I was curious about that in the moment.
It's
definitely
just water.
Too. Yeah. Well, later it is like saline or water or something. When Dr. Ruth is setting everybody up and stuff, that's cool too because they immediately had. I'm sorry, I have to inject you with this. But yeah, no, the intro. I was also wondering, like, isn't he gonna pass out? Like, what does this drug do?
What's supposed to happen?
That's kind of dovetailed with that other intro scene where, like, this is the perfect example of like what year was this film made? Because like now
smoking in a mall.
No,
with no mask on.
No, right after that. But yes, also smoking in a mall. Indoors, you can't smoke indoors. The whole fire department, shows up. No, like after that, when Cameron Vale is tied to the bed, has like the vest on, whatever, and like there's like a little bit of dialogue, but then like it's like minutes. It feels like of people coming in, and you're like overhearing the thoughts, and this like montagey weird thing that goes on for so long. Movies today are made where there's dialogue and music cues, and nothing could ever be allowed to go on for that long. Yeah, right.
It was effective though.
That's like. Now to me that feels like a masterpiece. We're like, ironically, movies now have to hold your attention to the point where you could be on your phone, but don't worry, someone's gonna talk and like say what's going on.
Yeah, they will directly tell you.
So you like, so you can't miss anything. But this is ironically the opposite. So and like now movies feel boring to me because they're just like that. Here I was like, what is happening? I feel like I was being scanned by the movie because
this movie is anything but formulaic, which is great because you're like I don't know what's gonna happen. Like at the end, like when he says like I'm your father, I'm like, oh snap, it's his father, what, or his brother, whatever.
Well,
he had given the prototype of ephemeral to his pregnant wife, our mother, 4 years before it hit the market, and then again a year later.
He says
we have the same dad.
Yeah, he says Dr. Ruth, my father.
Well, yeah,
our father.
Well, because you're like, okay, that guy who was the arguable good guy / bad guy, old villain guy, invented the whatever. Like, is your dad and his dad this psycho who drilled his own fucking head? That's your brother.
And he has like the awesome magazine of like, hey, this is like a preprint of like the thing that they were trying to sell. Had a little side effect though. Oh God, this is perfect too because charismatic young Michael Ironside says, but it had a little side effect though. And then it cuts to Cameron Vale, like black hole that sucks all charisma in, and says they created scanners.
And the drug failed because it had a side effect on the unborn children, an invisible side effect.
It created scanners.
And like has like no affect at all. It's like such a contrast between those two characters. Because Ironside's joking, being like, "Come on, yeah, you gotta side with me." He's like Nicholsoning almost or whatever. And Cameron Vale is like nothing.
So amazing to me because the script was not written when they started. Yeah, he was this bit part. He was gonna be in 2 scenes. he was the Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer of this movie. Oh my God. And because of that, his contract only got him $5,300 Canadian. For the movie.
Total? Yeah. Wait, so they just kept saying, Mike, can you come back tomorrow?
I guess. Well, I don't know. like this is obviously the earliest thing I ever saw him in. He might have just been like, I'm in a movie? I'll come back every day.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could film it. I could do this. Like I wonder. But yeah,
it's like
he was supposed
Ford,
to be in 2 like scenes
building a set
and became
like,
arguably the main character. And then
here.
I think the top billed person is that girl, the love interest, and she's not even she's in the movie. Like, what's she come in? Like in the first hour, she just comes in.
Yes, she's barely. I actually like noticed that on like the poster or the box or like something where like her name is big, and I'm like,
yeah, I don't know her from shit.
No, I know what it feels like to die.
I was like, oh, well, maybe she was famous at the time, and I tried to look, but I didn't see much. I'm just like, I don't know.
But like, she's like almost an hour in is when she makes an appearance.
Yeah,
and she's the top build. And then dude who got paid like $1.25, here's a Big Mac and a fucking like little piece of paper you can give to a cab driver that says your address. There's no money for him though.
Becomes Michael Ironside. Yeah, we didn't talk about when he's drilled a hole into his head, because now within the same movie, Michael Ironside's already young to me, and then they show him looking even younger.
That was
what's
so
like,
crazy.
Blows my mind.
I guess he actually looked like that, and you made him up.
And you made him look.
Right here. Why did you do it, Daryl? Why did you drill the hole?
Too much pressure.
Balding or something,
because
maybe?
When he had that like mark on his head, you noticed it at first. You're like, oh, what the fuck is that?
He's a scanner.
Hey, where's security too?
It looks kind of shitty.
Yeah. But you're like, what is that? What the fuck is that? And then when they explain it, you're like, oh shit, drilled his own fucking face.
At first.
Interesting.
At first, I'm like, is he just such a good scanner that he has like a port in his head for scanning better? And it's like, no. He's like, I had to let out people's voices. He's going crazy. Like, it's great.
Well, because we see in a very expedited version, his brother go through this where it's like, it's hard, I can only imagine if you were the firstborn with no one to guide you through this and like no one in the world knowing of what this is yet, and you're trying to deal with it. That's something.
And that leads to it's almost like a Sherlock Holmes junkie scene, because he's at the hotel. Is there a package for me? Yes. He's like, give it to me now. And he runs upstairs, and you're hearing all the muffled voices of everyone at the hotel like bleeding into his brain. He like shoots up, and then like he's on heroin, like finally relaxing. It's finally
a cool
quiet.
Concept.
He can finally sleep. It's great. There's so much here for this stuff. There's so much material. Right?
Again, I like the movie more based on the things it puts in my brain than I do for what the movie itself is.
I appreciate this film.
Yes,
I do not like this movie.
I think it's a little, and again, it's not. I won't say it's his fault, because again, you're shooting a movie while you're filming it in what, like a month and a half?
No, it sounds like they were under the gun in a very serious way.
Anytime, and that a lot of that makes sense, because certain things like don't directly tie in properly to other things, like meeting a main character at the very end of the movie.
I know you. You were at the gallery. You were looking for Pierce.
I need help.
Like that, because in a normal thing, you might have had a couple of shots from their point of view, what they're trying to do, their thing.
She's at the art gallery, I think, but then later you're like, who's that? Like, there's no.
No, exactly.
And there's very little. This movie actually, for how long it is, has very little like, oh, we have a quiet moment here. Let's catch me up on this. There's like a few quick ones, but it's mostly her calling him out. You're barely human. You don't understand. Revnick's crazy. And like that's it. But then they get interrupted. Like they always get cut off for those things when those things happen.
I feel like the Ironside should have won though, because he is the older, more powerful vampire. Like he should have just had it. Like
only a few years,
Well, a few more years of having the power, but a lifetime of using it. Well, our boy, didn't have that. He came into his own very late in life.
He's the like naive, pure whatever.
Yeah, he's the
hero.
Jedi master who my Mandalorians. Mandalorians?
I have my blood is full of Mandalorians, and that is how I psychic things.
Yeah.
No, I feel like even that, for this to be like 100 years old, and for someone to say telepathy is not just mind reading, forget about that. It's two nervous systems linked through space. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Why has it just been mind reading for the last 30 years of my life? Let's do something more interesting here, right?
No, interesting movie. I will say worth a watch.
Yes.
I can't give it a full weighted endorsement, but I think it definitely will be worth your time.
If you have not seen Scanners, you should watch Scanners.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's alright.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
I thought you didn't want
Kill
me
him.
really